What's up, everybody? Welcome in to the first DFS episode of The Cut. I'm your host, Preston Williams, at FFBaldman on Twitter. I am here with Randy Hall. Randy, how are you doing?
I am doing good now that it seems like we can fully get going here.
Bro, this has been brutal. I gotta say, if Apple is one thing, it's not good at having RAM and being able to live stream. Apple sucks. Bought a new iPhone today, though. I am a sheep. All right. We are here to help you guys win some money. Randy is already on his way. Thursday night, he was playing Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Will Fuller. So he's a big winner. Winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah, in ThriveFantasy, all DFS, everything's still kind of going for me. I didn't play any just specific Thursday slates.
Yeah.
But Thrive, I believe I won with missing two. I think I won $10 of a $2 bet. I was definitely testing the football system because it was the first game. But, yep, it was still pretty good.
Yeah, that's solid. And speaking of Thrive Fantasy, guys, you've heard us say it on the podcast. If you listen to that, Thrive Fantasy is the next big thing in daily fantasy sports. And guess what? We have a discount code for you. So, well, it's a promo code, not a discount code, but you get an additional $20 on your first deposit of $20 or more. And it's player props. It's really easy stuff, and we're going to help you out. We have a segment here before we get into our DraftKings lineup where we're giving you our prop picks of the week. So we're really excited about that. The app is really easy to use. I did have some issues putting my money in, but that's okay. Their support team reached right out to me, saw that I had issues, and got it fixed within 5 minutes. Like, this is an awesome company, and they are the next big thing in DFS. Download Thrive Fantasy. I will try to put the link in the description here. I think I will. I do that for the podcast, but obviously this is a different medium, so I'll make sure to link it in the description. So click that. And then our promo code is The Cut. I don't know if I said that. That's important. Use that. Off to a good start.
Can you tell it's been a long night, people?
Yeah, we are 3 hours in, I feel like. Oh,
no, it's like an hour and a half, but it does feel like 3.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely thought it was like 1 a.m., but all right. So as I mentioned, we're giving you our prop picks of the week. Randy and I both put some in here, and I'm going to start with the easy one. Kenny Golladay is still listed in the main slate for Thrive Fantasy. I assume that won't change just based on the way things look. Kenny Golladay under 70.5 receiving yards, that's a smash. Like, you have to pick that.
Oh, it's a free square, because as of right now we're at about 85-90% that he's not playing. So at that kind of, I mean, I assume it's going to be a game time decision. So we're looking at about noon. So we'll know for sure at noon or 1 if it changes in the slate. But I don't know how they're going to change it to. I mean, they could just get rid of it, but then it's not a true full slate. So I think they're going to end up keeping it in there and giving everyone a free space.
Yeah. So that's the easy one. That's the give me. I put a couple more in here. Russell Wilson over 22.5 completions. Aaron Rodgers under 263.5 passing yards. That's based on my Aaron Rodgers hate this year. No, I'm just kidding. It's just not going to be a game that they have to run or throw the ball a ton, I don't think. And then the last one I put in here was Zach Ertz over 0.5 receiving touchdowns, and that's just based on the fact that Carson Wentz loves throwing to Zach Ertz. So I think he's going to score a touchdown this weekend.
Well, yeah, and we're still not fully sure if Jalen Reagor is going to play. We know Miles Sanders is out. So because of that, it kind of leaves the options pretty slim, especially in the red zone, to the tight end. So, I mean, 1 touchdown is all you need from Ertz. A couple I put in here. I put Cam Newton over 255.5 total yards. That's passing and rushing. So you really only need him to throw about 200 yards. So I think in a 4-quarter game, which Christian thinks they're going to lose for some reason, I think that's almost a guarantee to get 250 for Cam. Christian McCaffrey over 130.5 total yards. That's not a smash one, but it's one I feel confident about this week. And then I also put in Rivers under half an interception. I know we joke a lot that Rivers threw a lot of picks last year. I think they're going to run a ton this game. I don't think he has a pick. This Jags defense is not good. They added some young pieces, but they keep trading away anyone of any value. So under half a pick gets you, I think it was like 130 to 150 points, whereas the over is only about 80 points. So that is a massive swing for a pretty easy evaluation.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So those were actually our only Thrive Fantasy prop picks for this week. Those are the ones that we have locked into our lineups. Go download Thrive Fantasy and get these ones locked in. For an NFL slate, you do have to pick 10 of the 20 listed. So you'll still need to make some decisions on your own, but feel free to tweet at us at the Cut FFB. We'll be happy to answer any questions you have on some of these prop picks this week. All right, let's get into our DraftKings lineup. If you guys have been following us for a little while, you'll know that we did this in the podcast form last year. And so, Randy, can you touch on what kind of contest, that's the word I'm looking for, what kind of contest we like to play and what the format is?
Yeah, I got you. We both play in FanDuel somewhat. Obviously, we're playing in Thrive Fantasy now. But for these lineups, we're going to do DraftKings because it is full PPR, and that's pretty much all we play for our actual leagues. So it does, and when we release our weekly rankings, they are full PPR, so we are kind of sticking to the same system there. We also play GPP, which is more just guaranteed prize pools, is what it actually stands for, but it's a bunch of people in a tournament. It's not a 50-50 like a cash game, or you're head-to-head where all you have to do is beat this many people. This, you have to basically get to a target area of points to end up winning money, and it's just a whole general thing against thousands of people. So it is a little harder, but we like the challenge because we think we're good. But yeah, and in that regard, you want to get people to hit about 2.5 to 3 times value to get to about that 170 to 175 points on the week.
Points.
Usually about 150, you have a shot to win money. About 170, you're almost guaranteed to at least get the worst case. There are going to be some weeks where people get the 240 or 250, something outrageous. I'm sure you guys have faced it in your home leagues. It sucks. Hopefully you're that person because of us, or we can help you in just some small aspect. But if you get to that 170 or about, you're going to be pretty good.
Yeah. So last year we decided to put together a lineup. I know last year we just missed on like winning thousands of dollars every week. We pivoted off of the guys that were in those big winning lineups. And so we gave you all the right information, but in the lineup that we actually ended up playing, we pivoted off of it. So hopefully this year we don't do that as much. We already started tinkering a little bit. We did talk about this before, and I think we ended up settling on our original lineup. So we'll get we're gonna talk through our process here, and I don't know if Randy mentioned just now, but DraftKings is what we are playing now, and that is full point PPR. Did you mention that?
I did. We've done
this so many times.
You're in such a zone right now, bro.
I was listening, but I was listening
to the running
GPP.
backs, buddy. Just get to
the
running backs.
So in full point PPR, we like to take some of the running backs that might have a little bit higher pass catching upside. I know last year we put Zeke in a few lineups, but we tend to lean on the guys that are going to catch a lot of passes. And so this week at the running back position, there's one matchup specifically that we have highlighted as one that we really want to exploit, and that is the Chargers going to Cincinnati to face the Bengals. You've got Austin Eckler, you've got Joshua Kelly, you've got Joe Mixon. You might even have Gio Bernard. We're not touching Gio Bernard because we think Mixon is going to be the full workhorse this year, but Austin Eckler valued at $7,000. Joe Mixon valued at $6,700. We said it in the first recording that we did tonight, about 2.5 hours ago, or an hour and a half ago, whatever the fuck it was. We said that this is probably the lowest valuation of both of these players the entire season. Well, I said that, and Randy did agree, right?
Yeah, I agreed. In general, the workhorses tend to be over 7,000, but because these are two not great teams, they picked in the top 10. I think that's a little bit why the evaluation's a little bit smaller. Obviously, there were some questions about Mixon and his contract too. Maybe they're trying to put that into play. But yeah, in general, if you get a workhorse back that's under 7,000, it is very, very hard to pass that up. I know there's a lot of other values this week, but I think going heavy on the running back first week, try and secure those guys and try and take a shot somewhere else kind of thing is what we want to do.
Yeah. So some of those values that you mentioned, I mentioned Joshua Kelly, 4,300 owned less than 1% per RotoWire. Only needs 10.75 points. If he gets even 60 to 70% of the Melvin Gordon work, I think he hits that. Randy and I both believe in Joshua Kelly. We've been harping on that for a while now. Some other guys, though, of value, Boston Scott, Sony Michel, and I'll let Randy talk about Sony Michel, but Antonio Gibson is the big value this week. He's valued at 4,000. He's owned at 1%, which I'm sure that'll skyrocket. When you're watching this, I'm sure he is going to be one of the higher owned players, and he only needs 10 points to return that value, that 2.5 value that we talked about. Randy, talk about Sony Michel so I can bomb it really quickly.
You may hate Sony Michel, but I know you don't at this price. He is starting running back. Starting running back that does get about between 40 and 50% of snap share. I will say that. But he is the goal line back. This is a team that does have Cam Newton, so he could take goal line work. But this is not a scary matchup for running the ball. If anything, it's more scary to throw the outside wide receivers with that stacked DB room over in Miami, but that is about it on that defense. This Patriots offensive line is back. It is up back to the top 3 in the league in the offensive line. I think you can full send Sony this week in your home leagues, in your actual leagues as a flex. But for me here at 4,600, that is an incredible value for a starting running back that he really only needs to get you 11.5 points to hit true value. And that is an insane number for a starting running back who, for the most part, their awful weeks are like 9-10 points. So if he even has a decent week, he's getting you that valuation. If he sneaks in the end zone once, he's guaranteed to hit that because he's going to get 40 yards, because he's going to get 15 to 20 carries, because they're going to be up, even though Christian doesn't believe that. Even if you don't believe that, Christian, I know you don't believe that the Dolphins are running away with this game for some fucking reason. There's not a chance in hell. If they win, it's from a super close, ultra competitive game. I think Cam Newton kind of smashes. I don't think he gets 300 plus passing yards, but he's going to get the 200. I think Sony's going to get at least 60 yards on the ground, most likely a touchdown. James White's going to be going off the charts. The wide receivers that places I don't want to touch, obviously the New England tight ends, but I think Sony is a really good value option this week. If you're spending up at wide receiver and you spent high at running back to start, maybe you want to pick Lamar this week against the Browns rushing defense that's, let's be honest, is dog shit. So let's see. So it's kind of a different value. And the same thing with Boston Scott. Obviously, Miles Sanders is out. He's going to get a bulk of the work. They're going to kind of rotate in a little bit else. But Boston Scott's going to be a major passing asset in that offense that we talked about with Zach Ertz earlier. Doesn't have a lot of assets this week. It's an easy matchup, but still.
Yep. And you spoiled it. Oh, no, you didn't spoil it. We did talk about Zach Ertz on this episode already. Sorry about that. All of them are mixing together. And then the last guy that I guess we didn't really touch on, he is the highest rostered player on this list, but it's Josh Jacobs. Randy, the Raiders fan, would love to have Josh Jacobs in this lineup.
I would just love to have him in freaking leagues. I have him in like one league because no one will trade him to me.
Yes. Well, everyone knows you're a Raiders fan, dude. That's why.
I know, and then they expect, but I'm not dumb. I'm not gonna overpay for the guy.
Yes.
Like, obviously he's worth a lot, and we do play in a lot of dynasty leagues, so he's worth even more. But good lord, people just will not trade me that guy.
Speaking of overpays, very big side note, but if you guys play DFS, you probably play a little bit of Dynasty, maybe not. But if you play some Dynasty, I traded Miles Sanders for 3 firsts today. Tell me if I didn't get enough value. Drop a comment. Would love to know. So, sorry, rant. Running backs. I want to not lock in, but I want to roll with Austin Eckler and Joe Mixon to start. What do you think?
Yeah, I think attacking that game, the only people we're comfortable attacking, really, in that game, I think that's smart play for us. It gives us 2 great PPR backs as well. So, at worst case, they're going to hit our value for us, I believe. So, it's a good start. It does kind of cap us other places. They're not that expensive, but they're still expensive.
Yes. All right. So, because of that little bit of a cap, I like to get my defense in to make me feel better about the remaining salary. So, let's jump to defense. Randy and I have been talking about defenses for a few weeks now just because we started hitting our redraft leagues. And the Philadelphia Eagles and Indianapolis Colts were staples in that in redraft leagues. They have a pretty easy early season schedule, so they were a good investment in redraft. However, in DraftKings this week, the Eagles are one of the higher priced defenses at 3,600, and the Colts are kind of a mid-tier. I personally think after going heavy on the running back, we should avoid both of them and go for a little bit of a cheaper option. Randy, what do you think about the Eagles or the Colts in this lineup?
Well, I think the Eagles and the Colts, like you said, are amazing options. Top 5 defenses for the week for me. I would love to pick the Colts here because they are that mid-tier, but I know we want to, at least to start here, get our cap way down. So the option that me and you kind of like, I will say the Raiders, just because if you don't believe in Teddy Bridgewater, I think that's a good option. Just because they're cheap and you wouldn't need that many points. But the team I think we should go is the Jets, which is scary to say because they're just so bad. But it's not going to be a high total game. It's most likely going to be like a 21-7 type game. It's going to be raining, so that's even better. They're 2,100, so we only need about 4 points from them. That is going to be almost a guarantee if we get 1 turnover out of them. And if not, they're not going to give up that many points, so we'll most likely get at least somewhat close to the evaluation we need. They won't cost us anything, basically. They're basically free.
Yes.
So, and it gives us a lot of flexibility at wide receiver where I know we're not spending up, but we're not going cheap either.
Yeah. So Randy did mention there that the Jets and Bills are going to be playing in the rain. That was courtesy of RotoWire. I do have a free trial going with them right now, and I really, really like their weather app where they're giving just kind of like if a game's in a dome or if a game it's supposed to be cloudy or something like that. The Jets and Bills are the only game that is going to be played in the rain this week. And you add that with Singletary's fumbling problem that's been well noted throughout camp.
Josh Allen's fumbling problem.
Throughout his career, including college. Yeah, the Jets, I think, are a pretty good play, especially knowing that they only need about 4 points. So.
Oh, for sure. And especially at that price. And sorry for this, definitely not opening a beer.
Yeah. Full send, bro. We're 2 hours in now.
It's been a while. I apologize.
Yeah, I'm out of my drink too. All right. So now we've got our defense. Randy, you know me. You know I love to go straight to the tight end to make it look even better. But
I disagree because me and you have targeted no expensive option this week. So I think going to wide receiver is a better choice.
Yeah. So let's move over to wide receiver. We have a list of 10 guys that we really like. Some of them values, some of them just guys that we feel are going to have big weeks. The first guy on the list is DJ Shark. 6,300, owned only 3%, only needs 15.75 points to return value, and he's going to get 16 targets, let alone 15.75 fantasy points. I mean, DJ Shark is almost a smash in every single one of my lineups this week.
I mean, the way you got to think about it, too, he also was the same price point as Kenny Golladay, I believe. And because, again, he's most likely not going to play, this is an incredible pivot option for you. Like Christian said, he's going to probably get like 15, 16 targets. He doesn't catch at a 50% clip, but even if he did, that's about 8 catches, so that's 8 points already. Most likely getting above 5 yards. So we're already pretty much at the 2.5 value just on basically him having no big plays at all. And he's a big play wide receiver. So
yes. And he's a really good wide receiver.
And it's probably going to be the last week. He's at 6,300. I think he's going to be closer to 7 next week, and that's going to suck. That's going to suck.
It is going to suck. I'm still going to play him because he's going to be a top 10 receiver on the year. Another guy I think is going to be a top 10 receiver on the year is Terry McLaurin. He is valued at only 5,600 this week. He only needs 14 fantasy points to return that value. I am so sorry for the fucking motorcycle next door. If you can hear that in the background, it's a nice motorcycle, but they love doing that shit.
Well, you know it's nice if it makes that sound, right? That's
very true. It's a nice like orange motorcycle, but anyway, back to the point. Terry McLaurin only needs 14 fantasy points to return that 2.5 value. That's 100% going to happen. I know that the Eagles now have Darius Slay, but Terry McLaurin just ate up the Eagles defense last year. I think that's going to happen again because who the hell else is going to be targeted there other than a potential tight end target of ours?
I agree. McLaurin does scare me slightly for that reason, but he is at a cheap enough price point that he's not that scary. He did have a few games last year where he only had like 2 or 3 catches, but he ended up usually getting a touchdown on that, so it might balance up enough that his low side is about 13, 14.
Right. I'm just going to rattle off a few here. Anthony Miller, Preston Williams, Jalen Reagor, Marvin Jones at 5,500. His rostership is going to go way up. So he's at 7% right now. He's probably going to be the highest owned receiver this week, I would guess, with the doubt of Kenny Golladay.
Him or Michael Thomas.
Yeah. Speaking of which, oh, hi, Coda. And I'm sorry about Coda. Jesus fuck. When we upload this to YouTube, it's going to be not safe for kids. It is not for kids. Speaking of Michael Thomas, though, we didn't talk about Christian McCaffrey. We didn't talk about the Ravens. Are they the highest priced defense this week?
They might be.
It might be the 49ers, but we're not going to spend up for those guys because they're just outrageously priced right now. I mean, I believe Michael Thomas is at 10,000, so is Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, and those guys are great cash game guys because you're pretty much guaranteed what you're supposed to get from them. And I don't in a cash game, if you want that guaranteed, I don't blame you at all. But we're not playing cash. We need cash for our cap, so we're not going that high.
Right. So Marvin Jones at 5,500 only needs 13.75 points. That's a virtual lock against a pretty bad Bears secondary. Then moving on, Calvin Ridley, my boy, my A1 receiver, 6,100. That's a huge value this week, but he is the highest owned player on this list. He's only at 9% according to RotoWire.
That's wrong.
But yeah, he's
it's Devontae Adams.
Oh, you're right. Devontae Adams is at 11%, so he's also on the list. Calvin Ridley needs 15.25 points to return that value. I think that's definitely going to happen because, of course, I think that he's my A1. DJ Moore, 6,600. Devontae Adams, 7,300. Deshaun Jackson, 4,900. Randy, I know we spent up on the running backs, but we took a hit with the defenses. What are you thinking for receivers here?
All right, so we kind of already gave away that we're going to put DJ Chark in the lineup.
Yeah.
So we already kind of said that. I think it's a good idea to put the other DJ and DJ Moore in the lineup as well. He's a little bit more expensive, but I don't think Teddy Bridgewater's a bad quarterback. DJ Moore is an amazing receiver, the number one receiver in this on this offense. The Raiders secondary is slightly better, but like I don't believe in that defense at all. Even though I love a few players on that defense, I'm not scared of the defense. So especially a guy that's kind of like a PPR monster, I think putting him in here, having both the DJs kind of carry us, how a lot of people did Thursday lineups with David Johnson. I think we're going to keep that trend going at the week here. Now the third receiver, I'm going to go back to you, unfortunately, because we do have a couple other positions. I don't know if you want to hold off on that, or do you want to go for a lower price guy, or what?
So I think we're going to have to go with a lower price guy if we're going with DJ Chark and DJ Moore, but I would love to hold off and kind of come back to that and see what we can put in our flex later, and then see what we can afford for that third wide receiver position.
Okay, so do you want to jump to quarterback then?
Yes, let's jump to quarterback, where we have a list of guys, and to the naked ear, you're not gonna really like playing these guys. I'll tell you what. Like, I'm looking at this list and I'm like, holy shit! Like, I would love to look at a Lamar Jackson or Russell Wilson. On this list, we have Derek Carr, 5,900, needs 14.75 fantasy points. Derek Carr is my start of the week. I think, as much as we just talked about the Raiders defense being bad, and I think that impacts my ability to start Derek Carr comfortably, because I think Derek Carr is going to get every opportunity to throw the ball, because I think this is going to be a shootout with Carolina's defense being shitty as well. We have Tyrod Taylor at 5,600. I don't love it. I put it in here as like a cheaper option. Like Randy said, we want to exploit that matchup, but the only guys we were really comfortable with were the running backs. And then, Randy, talk about Cam Newton so I can puke again.
Well, I've kind of actually already covered him already. I do think he's going to get a good amount of rushing yards this week. Like I said, I think the read system is going to be in this offense slightly, not heavy. They're not going to take the chance of Cam getting hit a ton, but he is going to run. That's how he naturally plays. I think him and Edelman and James White are almost guaranteed to have a connection off the bat. I think N'Keal Harry is the type of receiver he's kind of always played with. And I think he's a guy that I think Cam can make him break out. I'm not sure N'Keal Harry is ready for a breakout necessarily. Obviously, he's going to be better than last year because he didn't really play. But Cam, I mean, he made Kelvin Benjamin a guy. He made big body guys that just jump, that don't get separation, all pro people. Like, I think he could do that for N'Keal Harry. I don't want to take the shots there. I want to take it on Cam Newton, who's a little bit lower price of a quarterback this week, because you don't need that many points, he's going to get probably 2 or 3 touchdowns. I would say probably 2 through the air, 1 on the ground. And that 1 on the ground is going to be all you need to skyrocket him into value.
Yeah, for sure. And then some other guys on the list: Gardner Minshew at 5,800, Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins we talked about at 5,000. He only needs 12.5 points. I know the Eagles' defense got better, but
I just want to point out Dwayne Haskins is priced below Jalen Hurts.
That's absurd.
He's priced below backups. That is disrespectful if I've ever seen it. I think if you're full sending other positions, if you're trying to get CMC, if you're trying to get Michael Thomas, you're trying to get Julio Jones and Devontae Adams, I think playing Haskins, maybe stack it with Terry McLaurin or stack it with Antonio Gibson, another cheap option. They're begging Haskins to play at all. Now, I will say he played, I think, about 6 games. I think he beat the score of 12.5 3 times out of those. He had a few really bad games. One of those happened to be against the Eagles, though. Obviously, they have Darius Slay now. little bit better secondary as they've kind of grown up, but I'm not scared of them. So I think he's a decent play if you're spending up elsewhere. Gardner, we expect them to be losing, so that's kind of why he's a good play, because they're going to be losing. He's most likely going to throw a ton. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot. He'd probably run for about 20, 30 yards, so that's an extra couple points. And the last guy we put on here as the only top-end option that we're even kind of targeting this week is Matt Ryan, mainly because they have a dog shit defense. And he's not facing a really scary defense necessarily in Seattle. And they're going to be throwing the ball a ton. We expect big games from possibly Hayden Hurst. Obviously, he's got to prove himself. Calvin Ridley we love. Julio we love. Todd Gurley we love. So we expect big things from that offense this year. I think Matt Ryan, we had like the semi-down year last year, so now this year statistically, he's supposed to be a top like 8 quarterback. So hopefully that starts this week.
Yes. A little bit of breaking news. I wish I had a breaking news drop. Mike Evans is going to play today, but it's going to be on a pitch count.
Ooh.
So
here's my question to you. I'm sorry, this is going to kind of deviate from what we have planned. If Evans, let's say he's on a pitch count, so let's say that's like 40 snaps.
That might be high, but
I'm saying full game. If he's playing full game, 40 snaps, Lattimore's covering him.
Yep.
So is that a full smash on Godwin then? Because he's getting nobody covering him then, basically.
No.
I know me and you argued about you think this is going to somehow be a 6-9 game.
No, I don't. Stop lying. Don't lie to them.
I'm kidding. You took the under on the week and I took the over, but I think you put it at like 42 Close. Points and I had it at like 53 or something like that. So I think the line's 49.5. So
yeah. So the reason I don't think it's a smash for Godwin is because I think the Bucs know that he's going to be a decoy, and I wouldn't put it past Arians to say, oh, he's playing. He'll be on a pitch count and throws Evans out there for 5 snaps, and then Lattimore is able to cover Godwin the rest of the game. And so I wouldn't love that. Like I wouldn't want that to happen.
I don't think he's coming on the field to play 5 snaps. See, like
I don't think so either.
Last year when we had like Cooper kind of like this when he was banged up but played, he would play like 3 straight plays and then come off, then 3 straight plays and come off. He wasn't ultra effective during those. But we don't need him to be because Cooper still took the top target on defense away. So, I mean, that's why Gallup was so good last year when Cooper was banged up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's my major. And like we argued earlier, I don't love anyone on the Saints defense besides Lattimore. I think they're all good players, but they're not people I'm afraid to go up against. It's not Gilmore. It's not Lattimore. It's not, I mean, they're not even up to the level of Slay where I have to, like, give it a little bit pause, but I'm not terrified. So
yeah. It is a shout. If you guys want to, I mean, it's not really even spending up for Godwin. I think he's 67. Can you?
I will triple check quick. He is 71.
Okay.
So he's the 4th highest receiver. So that's definitely a cash game person. In GPP, you need him to hit 18 points basically to hit his good value. I think it's 17.75 if I do the math quickly in my head. But I mean, Godwin a lot of weeks hit 20 points. It's just another option just because you popped it up. But let's move on let's select our quarterback here.
Yeah. So basically, how I opened with these are not guys that you really want to play. We did finish with the guy that I really do want to play, and that's Matt Ryan. You know my belief in the Falcons offense. The Seahawks defense is not that good. Their secondary is okay. But they have literally no pass rush, so Matt Ryan's going to be able to pick apart the defense.
Yeah. I mean, so their secondary is good now because they have 2 decent to a little bit above decent corners. I believe Quandre Diggs at free safety, Jamal Adams at strong safety, obviously, so it's a little bit better. Bobby Wagner in the middle, but he's not scary for his quarterback necessarily.
Yeah.
But because this offense is so high-powered, because you got a receiver that can literally overjump everyone and moss 3 people at once, and you got a speedster in Ridley, and you have a monster tight end, and you have a pass-catching running back. I think Matt Ryan is still kind of a full send. I think this is a over type of betting line here. I think I think this is a high-scoring game. If me and you are making a bet of Buccaneers and Saints versus Seahawks and Falcons, which is going to be higher, I think we both would take the Seahawks and Falcons.
Yeah, for sure. So Matt Ryan at 6,700 has to get us 16.75 points. Won't be too difficult to do that, I don't think. I think we both have him as top 5 quarterbacks on the week in our weekly rankings.
Yeah.
So let's move down to tight end. Randy, are you putting this in live as we go?
I was not, but I can.
Okay. I just want to know what we're looking at. Salary.
Okay, I will do it very quick. Why don't you touch on the tight ends we like?
Yeah, so we do obviously a stack option because we haven't gone with Calvin Ridley. We do have our third receiver still, but Hayden Hurst is a good shout. He's priced at 4,300. He's one of the lower end tight ends. He only needs 10.75 points to get there. If he gets 70% of the Austin Hooper work, that's a virtual lock. Speaking of locks, TJ Hawk and Sin. That was awful. Yeah, sorry.
I didn't know Sean joined the call. What the hell was that?
It was terrible. We've been doing this way too long. TJ Hawkinson, he should be the second target for Matthew Stafford this week. He's 4,200, 10.5 points. Last year, week 1, TJ Hawkinson went off. I think that's a really, really good play. He is in a lot of my lineups this week. Randy, what are we looking at salary-wise?
We have 14,600 remaining, so that's about 4,800 per player. So we need to get cheap here.
Okay, so if we're going cheap, so I classify cheap as under 4. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, especially at tight end. Maybe even under 30. I mean, the highest guy I'd be willing to go is Jack Doyle, personally at 3,600. Obviously, he's my start of the week at tight end. I believe in him. He's pretty much the only tight end of value left on the roster. And, I mean, Hilton's great. We still have to learn about everyone else in this offense. They could run a lot, but anytime they're running, Jack Doyle is going to be on the field. So that's why I love him. I still think there's a couple of guys even cheaper.
Yep.
I think your start of the week?
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay.
Chris
Herndon at 3,300. Only 3% ownership. Only needs to get 8.25 points. Anytime he was really playing last year or the year before, he got that. So I think Chris Herndon's the way to go. I think he's cheap. I think Tyler Eifert's a good shout there. I know you brought up
Logan Thomas.
Logan Thomas at 2,800. Just because he's apparently won the job in Washington, even though that's not a for sure thing. Like we said, the Buffalo-New York game is not going to be a high point total, but there's only really like 2 or 3 people to throw to in this offense. Darnold is comfortable with Crowder, comfortable with Herndon, comfortable with Le'Veon Bell. It's only going there.
Yeah. All right. So of these guys, I think it's between our starts of the week, because why wouldn't we roll with one of our starts of the week?
That's how we roll.
It is how we roll. So would you rather go with Chris Herndon? Would you rather go with Jack Doyle?
I think we go Herndon for right now. If we pick somebody and we have $300 more, we'll go Doyle.
Okay.
Safe.
Let's put Herndon into the lineup. Randy, can you tell me how much we have left?
We have 11,300, so 56.50 per player. Do you want to? It kind of goes back and forth in the industry. If you go 3 running backs, you go 3 receivers. Sometimes it's by a week. I generally want 3 running backs and 3 receivers, so I don't want 4 receivers this week. Because of that, this is somewhat of a homer pick. I will say I want Josh Jacobs, man.
Okay. I mean,
I want to put him in the slide up that we're not locking in for safety. And then
don't sue us.
And then I want to look at what's available at the wide receiver because there's a lot of mid-level and low-level people we like this week. So if we do that, he's 6,800. That leaves us 4,500 at wide receiver. That leaves us.
Speaking of starts of the week.
So I will say at 4,300, that gives us Rager if he's playing. At 4,200, that gives us Bryan Edwards, who we like. But right at 4,500, that gives us two of my favorite wide receivers in the league. That is Hunter Renfro for the Raiders and Preston Williams, my start of the week. He is going up against the second corner for New England, who at this moment I can't even think of off the top of my head because Stephon Gilmore is obviously the best cornerback in the league on the other side. He is going to be shadowing Devontae Parker, who's full go as far as yesterday, according to what I saw at least. I mean, New England's still technically the first-ranked defense in this matchup, but they're not going to be. Gilmore is pretty much the only person returning of value. They lost people in free agency. People opted out. A lot of big names in the secondary and linebacking core. I think Preston Williams is going to have a great week. At 4,500, he does not need to score a lot. He needs to get us 11.25 points. He can do that. Like, it's not even... He's going to get probably at least 8 targets, I'd say. He caught about like a 55% clip, so let's say he gets 5 catches. 5 catches, 50 yards is like probably his worst case scenario. So he's just under the value. I think he's getting much more than that. I think he's getting close to 20 this week. So I think that's a solid play because we went cheap at defensive tight ends. We went cheap as our third wide receiver. Well, we got 3 top-end workhorse running backs.
Yeah. And we have 2 guys that we think are going to be wide receiver 1s on the week in Moore and Chark. So let me read down the lineup.
I will also say I ranked Josh Jacobs as running back 2 on the week. So a little bit biased. We only need him to score 17 points. I think he's getting over 20. So.
Oh, easily. I think he might be the RB1 this week.
It's very possible.
Yeah. So here's the lineup that we have not locked in. Matt Ryan at quarterback, Joe Mixon, Austin Eckler at our running back positions, DJ Moore, DJ Chark, Preston Williams, Chris Herndon, Josh Jacobs, New York Jets. Coda approves.
Coda approves. That's insane. Obviously, we have a few guys that we love this week. I believe I somehow have 2 of my starts of the week. Seems a little cheated on my aspect. You have 1. But we have a monster lineup in this mock lineup, and it fits perfect. No salary cap remaining. Obviously, I might pick Doyle or maybe Hurst over Herndon, but because he's so cheap, I mean, it's kind of insane. You could tinker, maybe get the cheapest defense possible, which I think is like 1,900 this week. Maybe get Logan Thomas at 2,800. Maybe you could get the receiver, your third receiver in this, up to Terry McLaurin. I'm not quite sure it's even getting to that level. So for that reason, I think this is kind of a best case scenario. There's some tinkering you could do. Obviously, we listed other people that are great values this week. Maybe you want to spend up somewhere else and get one of them. We didn't get any of the value running backs. We just got the top end only value because they're not over 7,000 guys. But I love it, man.
Yeah, and so Randy, I know you and I, we did talk about this before. We did come up with an alternate lineup. If we didn't go with the 3 workhorse backs, it included Antonio Gibson. I feel as though his rostership is going to be really, really high come today when you guys are listening to this. So we didn't roll with this lineup, but I do want to read this off because I just want to show you how you can pivot and potentially get an even better lineup, probably because that's what we do. So Matt Ryan, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon. So we moved Jacobs into our RB2 and we took away Austin Eckler. And then we went DJ Moore, DJ Chark, Allen Robinson, who we didn't talk about. I think he's 6,100. That sounds right.
Something like that.
So he's a pretty good value this week as well against Detroit, who just is choosing not to start Jeff Okudah right off the bat. Makes no sense to me.
I think he's technically not starting, but he's going to come in when whoever they have a designated slot cornerback. So when they're in 3 cornerback sets, he's coming in.
Gotcha. So Allen Robinson at our third receiver position. We did put Hayden Hurst in, and then Antonio Gibson, New York Jets. So that is a decent pivot. I do think that the rostership of Gibson is going to be pretty chalky, though. So.
Oh, for sure, and that's exactly what we did. And go Boston Scott too. He's going to be very chalky in the week.
Yeah. But there you have it. We did plan to do a Q&A. We planned for this to be a live stream. Unfortunately, it is not. So we will let you guys know next week ahead of time to send in your questions for DraftKings, for Thrive Fantasy, for FanDuel. Like Randy said, he plays a little more FanDuel than me. I don't like the half PPR system for FanDuel. Sorry, FanDuel. If you want to sponsor the podcast, go ahead. I will love you.
He loves Derrick Henry, but doesn't want to play half PPR. Just saying.
Well, he's gonna catch. Darrington Evans is out this week.
Shut off, dude. Move on. Move on.
All right. Moving on is the conclusion, where I say go download Thrive Fantasy, go subscribe to the podcast, look up the Cut. You'll see the logo here in the corner. Hopefully, still trying to figure out how to edit fucking videos because I planned for this to be just live streamed and I didn't have to edit. So hopefully you see the logo in the corner, but look us up on your favorite podcast app. And for at FF Baldman, no, that's not right. That's mine. For at Randy Hall Hall 71, that's Jesus, your Twitter name.
Yeah, this is at good. Randy Hall 71. Yes, good job.
Listen, man, that's a hard one. You got to get rid of the underscore.
No, just move on.
All right. For Randy, I'm Christian. We'll talk to you guys next week. Later.